Welcome to another exciting edition of Day 4, number 89 on a Friday. Day 4 on a Friday because I've been driving across the country. I'm back in studio. I literally got back like 5-6 hours ago, jumped in the studio, and the man, Uncle Frank SCALISH, here to drop some knowledge. We can't miss a week, Frank.
No, we can't. Actually,
although we might miss next week. I have to talk to you about that after the show. I guess I shouldn't have said that.
Okay, so doing Day 4 on Friday is really confusing to my psyche. I'm just letting you know that.
Why is that?
Because it throws my whole week off. Now I think there's another day before the weekend. Not that the weekend matters, because all I do is yard work anyway on the weekend. But it's weird, dude. It's weird. It's like it's out of order.
Try to be me. I have no idea what day it's been for the last month and a half, Frank. I've been in 4 different time zones and covered 6,000 miles over the last month. I've gone from the Chesapeake Bay to the Red River to Lake Hartwell to Upper Michigan. Now I'm back for 24 hours and then headed to
Texas.
East Texas.
Perfect. It's okay, dude. I used to do that, remember? I never knew what day it was ever. And I loved living out without a calendar, by the way.
Until you had to do responsibilities that involved a calendar after the
100%.
After the Gong Show was over.
100%. Back in the day, okay, funny story actually about traveling. When I was running Bassmasters, my title sponsor, OSI Sealants and Adhesives, I had been doing a lot of things with a lot of their customers and some of their big box customers like Lowe's and Home Depot, etc. And in my entire life, I never went to Vegas. I never wanted to go to Las Vegas. I could care less about Las Vegas. Not the people in Las Vegas, just the city itself. I'm not a city dweller, okay? So it was a place I never wanted to go. So one day we were talking about our promotional stuff, and they're like, "Hey, you're going to do a lot of work with Home Depot, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool, no problem." You know what I mean? So I get back from a tournament. You know how you're saying you're on the road all the time and you're here and there and here and there. So I'm on the road. I'm here and there. I'm from state to state, gone for a month and a half. I get home, turn on the computer, and there's plane tickets waiting for me because I got to fly out to Vegas the next day to meet and do things with Home Depot.
Okay.
I wound up going to Vegas like 4 or 5 times that year, and I flipping hate the place.
Still, you never found like a little niche that you liked?
Yeah, I mean, no. No.
So Jeffries would always avoid the Strip when I went there with him for ICAST, and we've been there for the U.S. Open too. And he would get a hotel at like one of the nicer ones that's like kind of off the Strip, but caters to, I guess, those with a slower paced lifestyle.
That would be me.
And it would have a nice buffet there, and it was always mellow, and all he cared about was as long as it, had a craps table there, because he doesn't gamble. He has like his asserted $100 that.
Oh, I don't gamble.
Yeah.
No, I don't gamble. I won't gamble. I work too hard for my money to throw it in the garbage.
But that's how he did Vegas in the slower pace. Now, in my younger days, back in the 20s when we would do ICAST, there are some stories of me, showing up to the airport from Dre's nightclub or waking up in a suitcase.
Oh, I have. I won't say that I haven't taken the red eye home and sobered up on the flight. I mean, I won't go that far, but
yeah, good stuff. We got a great show today. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. First of all, in the tournament news, Frankie Jr. is currently plying the waters of La Crosse, Wisconsin right now, looking for what? 3-pounders. That's what he needs. He needs 3-pounders today. He's in 30th after day 1 as of it's Friday, October 14th.
Right.
And we've got a solid live on that waited till Friday here. I did mention it on the shows this past week, but great start for Frankie in his first BFL regional as a boater.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm really happy for him. He fished well in the Michigan division. He's fishing well down there. He just didn't capitalize on a couple of bites, but he's on them pretty good, and hopefully he makes some adjustments today and makes it to the final day. But even if he doesn't, I'm really, it's his first real run at it, so you can't complain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to be kind of proud of that. Like him talking, I'm sure you guys talk maybe some. I don't know how the off limits work there, but before just general tournament strategy and mentality and game plans and.
Yeah, mostly strategy. I've only been up there once in my life with a really good friend of mine who wins everything down there. But we were there in the summer, and all we did was frog them, and it was the most fun I ever had throwing a frog in my life. And it was just I was actually passing through, and it was just for 2 days. And I had a bruise on my rib cage the size of a softball from sticking them with the frog rod, going, ugh. And it was a lot of fun. So, so Frankie and I, we talked a lot about strategy, told him, don't worry about trying to save fish. Just beat them up, because you got to make the final day. So just beat them up every day, fish every day like it's a one-day event, and let the cards fall where they fall.
You hit a nerve.
I hit a nerve.
Clay's not afraid to post his opinion. He said tournament fishing is gambling.
I'm the biggest.
Bo says, I love when tournament anglers say, I don't gamble. And then John says gambling is going to the Home Depot and throwing your money. You can spend some money at the Home Depot, although you typically get to see the results of it. Don't ever try to buy mulch there. That's or like mulch or rock. You just have to triple what you think. It's like the never ending. Oh, I only need a couple bags of that now. Three trips later, you're like, I should have just had a pallet delivered.
That's correct. That is correct. Yes.
Do you think it is gambling?
Bass fishing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most addictive gambling thing there is, and I am an addict.
Even Team Jesus Outdoors. My thoughts exactly, Clay.
Yes. Okay, guys, fans. Whoa! I apologize. I am an addict. The first thing is admitting you have a problem. If you come down and see my tackle room, you'll be like, oh, he has a problem.
Yeah. Anyway, but just as far as the dice and cards and slot machines, avoid those at all costs.
Yes, I don't do that. I don't do that kind of gambling.
Yeah, we have not had a show since the walleye guys were caught cheating rocks at Lake Erie. How far away was that from where you are, where that went down?
4.2 miles.
4.2 miles from you, where that went down. That's been talked about ad nauseum. I don't know if you want to mention that at all. Like, what is the scene up there? Is it all anybody in the fishing industry is talking about? I think they just got arrested. I know their boat got confiscated or charged or whatever.
Boats. They confiscated the boats, the truck, one boat. They are being prosecuted, and they should be prosecuted. The reality of it is this, okay? The day it happened, my phone blew up.
Yeah.
My DMs went out of control. My phone blew up. I quit answering the phone during the day.
Peter Lunk says, hi, my name is Uncle Frank, and I have issues. Sorry, I need to not post funny things until you're done with
That's
the story.
Fantastic. And Peter, I didn't forget you, by the way, just FYI. But so I quit answering the phone because most of the calls that were irritating to me were the people that don't fish at all, but that know I do.
Yeah, they're just trying to be helpful, Uncle Frank.
Right, but they're like, were you in it? Was your son in it? Did you guys know those people? You know what I mean? It's just, and so I just quit answering the phone. But I did respond to a couple of things that I had to respond to. I think it's blatantly BS. They should be completely prosecuted to the nth degree, because in the tournament fishing world, we do everything to prove to this country that this is a legitimate sport, that it's a great sport, and the fact that two morons, okay, ascertained more publicity than the guys that do great things for this sport pisses me off to no end. Because if they paid this much attention to the sport in the beginning, the sport would be a lot farther than it is today. And it really irritates me that those guys are famous for doing something nasty. They're infamous for doing something nasty. They should be totally prosecuted 100% and made a complete example of.
I agree. So other regional events, guys have been caught cheating. Obviously, the Robbie Rose deal in Texas, some other stuff that's been going on. There's a guy, was it Mike Hart in the U.S. Open way back a decade ago. But here's the thing. I think it went viral just because of how the tournament director, we got weights at Fish with the fist pump, and then the mob that came down on him and how he stood there until, if that had been handled behind the scenes, I think it would have been a blip on message boards and it would not have gone viral at all.
This is what made it go viral.
Yeah. I wish I had mine.
Everybody, yours is taking pictures of underwater stuff.
Yeah,
now.
22 foot and 6 and 20 creek.
That's right. You're taking pictures of some fish swimming by. But yeah, I mean, everybody's got a cell phone camera. Everybody had video on it. It was plastered all over the social media platform literally while it was going down.
Yeah. I watched one live that was a tail end, and then the first one I watched, it was 14 minutes old.
Oh yeah, dude, that's when I thought they were going to lynch the dude. Well, here, how about this? Since we're talking about it, how about this? The one guy stands there and takes his ass kicked.
Yeah, where was the other dude? I'd be calling my partner over saying,
and locked the truck.
That's weak.
Amen, brother.
I will say one thing, and I don't know whether it was because he was in shock, whether he was indifferent, whether he was like, you caught me and I deserve everything I'm getting. But if there is the fact that he stood there and just took it and didn't have a face and didn't try to do, if there is anything ever, any redeeming quality out of anything that happened, that is the only shred of dignity that is remaining, that the guy stood there and took it like that. Do you agree? I've talked to people who are like, dude, he was just in total shock.
He was probably completely in 1,000%
dumbfounded
disbelief. But you have to be moronic to do that, because here, listen to this. We all fish. Everybody watching this fishes. You fish, I fish. We've caught thousands and thousands of bass, right? So when you catch a bass or your buddy catches a bass, you could look at it and pretty much within 2 or 3 ounces say how much that fish weighs, and probably not be off by a couple of ounces.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the walleye game is no damn different. It's no different when a guy catches a 26-inch walleye or a 25. They know exactly how much that fish should weigh to within ounces. So here these dudes weigh in fish, and they're 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds heavier than they should be. Okay, theoretically, than they should be. It's not. I mean, they brought the attention on themselves because they got really, really greedy. Okay, and that's the thing. For a fact, this wasn't the first time they did this, because you don't cut fish fillets and wrap the lead weights in the fish fillets so they don't bulge around on the belly unless you've done it before. Not only that, I heard they actually shoved a pair of pliers down one of them. There's a pair of pliers in one of them. So what did they run out of shit to fill them with? So, hey, here's a can.
And were they catching the fish? Were they catching smaller ones, filleting them, and then wrapping the fillet and the weight on the boat? That's illegal.
Oh, absolutely.
Who knows? Hypothetically, we don't know exactly what went on, but there were some illegal shenanigans that went on.
Right. I'm surmising by what I've read that there were fish fillets in them.
Yeah.
They were. So they did catch little fish and fillet them and shove them inside them.
It's a wild world that we live in.
Yeah, it's stupid.
And then in other news, I get into the studio, obviously. So I will try to do a show. I have no idea what's going on. Very, very happy. Obviously, the U.S. Open going through a lot of changes with the water level low. We're kind of doing a BTL Day 4 combo here, Uncle Frank. You cool with that today?
Whatever, man.
It's just been, yeah. But Josh Bertrand, 75K, and the Bass Cat boat there at the U.S. Open on Mojave. That changed from Lake Mead. Yeah, he caught the heck out of them. They had great weather, and then continuing his streak as an incredible year, Spencer Shuffield also had a good derby there too. But Josh Bertrand gets the U.S. Open win on Mojave. Is that something you've ever had an interest in fishing?
Yeah, yes, for ego's sake, and for the fact that I've never been on those lakes before. I really want to. I love going to places I've never been. To me, that's the most exciting part about fishing. You get to figure out a new body of water, but I was really amazed at the smallmouth they caught there.
Good stuff. And then even in more bad news, and this isn't tournament, but it's competitive, Alaska snow crab season canceled after an estimated 1 billion crabs disappeared. 90% they cannot find them. They do not know where they went, and they have canceled the snow crab season.
How do you lose 1 billion crab?
1 billion with a B.
Billion with a B. Putin took them.
An estimated $200 million in revenue. An estimated 1 billion crabs has mysteriously disappeared in 2 years, state official says. It marks a 90% plunge in their population.
That's bad news. That's bad news. What's Deadliest Catch going to do? They're going to have to fish for lingcod.
The codfish. I don't know. It says disease is one possibility. Climate change might be another. But it reminded me, I was talking to it, I said, with Jason Shakurat back up at a writers conference, a Striking Lose writers conference I was just at, and I was talking to him about Lake Erie. And it was like, just, I remember seeing those roving schools miles long from helicopters of walleye. But then I also remember how like there's dead zones out on Erie too, and like over the past 4 or 5 decades, there's been massive fluctuations of, oh my gosh, every walleye's dead in Lake Erie, or oh my gosh, they're migrating, or now there's a boom in them. It's interesting what happens on massive bodies of water.
Yeah, there's the ecosystem on giant bodies of water is kind of amazing, really. I mean, we watched. Back when I was younger, the smallmouth population in Lake Erie was so great that you didn't even have to know how to catch them. You just needed to know what depth to go to, and that's where the drift and drag, the Lake Erie drift and drag technique came. You just get out there with a west wind, throw a drift sock, and drift 5 miles and catch 100 bass, and easily. Just get in the right depth range, throw a drift sock out, drag a tube, and eat a sandwich, and you catch 100 fish. Those days are over on the lake. The lake's still a great smallmouth fishery. It's probably still the best smallmouth fishery in the world. But the problem is that that population of smallmouth is much smaller than it used to be. Where the walleye population has just boomed. It has just exploded. And way back in the day, we had a thing called a blue pike, which was a walleye, but it was a blue walleye. Didn't get as big as normal walleye. It was called a blue pike, and they were as plentiful as the walleye are today in the lake. And then they got overfished by it like mad, and then something happened, probably pollution back then, wiped out the entire population, and to my knowledge, there's not a blue pike in existence today.
Never even heard of this.
Yeah, they got a couple of them frozen, but
what was it called?
Blue pike. Look it up. Lake Erie blue pike. It's actually a walleye. It's not a pike. Well, they're all in the pickerel family, but whatever.
Oh yeah, it is. It does have a blue tint to it. Why the coveted blue pike disappeared from our waters?
Here, throw it up so the fans can see it. The guys watching can see it. Can you do that?
Yeah, give me a second.
Am I taxing you too much on no sleep?
No, I'm good. I got 4 hours last night. Open image in new tab.
That's perfect. Yeah, so I mean, stuff happens. With those crabs, I'm going to almost bet and go out on a limb that it was a disease or they moved. They moved like far from where they go.
You know what? Maybe it is a lack of sleep because I totally forgot how to share a screen.
You guys, we have stooped to a whole new level on day 4. That's because it's day 4 on day 5. Well, while Matt's looking for that, I'm gonna tell you guys, don't forget to go on LureNet. The bundle packages are still 20% off all bundles on LureNet, which is a great buy because it's way less than retail. So it's a really good buy. And then for the custom painters out there, don't forget the DIY section. Get your blanks, get your body blanks, so you could start painting. Winter's on the way. You guys are going to be locked in pretty soon, and it's good to paint. There it is.
I can't believe, literally, I had to relearn that.
And how'd it go for you?
Good. There it is. There's the blue. There's the blue pike.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That is absolutely cool. And they were plentiful. There was a technique these guys used to do to fish them off the bank. They would take an inner tube and they would bungee cord a piece of plywood on the inner tube, put a lantern on it, and then push it offshore, push the lantern out, a cast away from where they were at. And then at night, the lantern shines the light, all the bait fish come in, and all the blue pike would come around, and they would cast to the lantern and catch blue pike all night long.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I got a reason on why here, but there's a video somewhere in this deal.
Wow, we're going deep in the blue pike world here.
No, it's considered extinct.
It is. They're wiped out. There's none left. They said there was some in a lake in Canada, but that's hearsay. That's not factual.
Oh my gosh. It was typically 1.5 pounds to 3 pounds.
Yeah, perfect eaters, man.
Anything over 5 was a walleye. Blue pike's eyes are larger than a walleye.
That's cool.
Huh.
That means they could see in the dark really well. Predominantly night feeders.
Extinct species.
Mm-hmm. And we had them right here in my backyard.
That's scary.
And I never caught one. I never knew about them.
All right. Like I said, you talked a little bit about it. We are going to get into the paint shop, and then kind of in honor of. You told me this isn't giving anything away. You told me Frankie was locking, trying to get a little bit away from the pressure, and I wanted to get your thoughts on getting away from other anglers potentially, whether that's in a kayak or launching somewhere else or making a long run, and maybe some tips and tactics for what you look for when you're getting away.
Let's go there. Let's go there. That's a good thing.
Okay, but I did want to mention, first of all, there was a comment earlier, and we haven't had a show since Hartwell, and we did a lot of blueback herring stuff on the show, and a lot of the movement of the blueback herring, and you've talked a lot about Hartwell and Norman and where how the spotted bass and the largemouth relate to it. And Kyle Davis said, "Hey Matt, I was fishing near you on Saturday at Hartwell during my kayak tournament. Good job on a top 10. I got 4th." Kyle, hopefully I didn't pull up very close to you because I don't remember seeing any kayaks out there. I was pretty dialed in.
They're hard to see.
I did. Well, I did start on the final day, and I finished 9th. I was like, man, I'm going to be able to hit all the community holes, and then they're going to be reloaded. Like, the fish are going to be set up. They're not going to be spread out. There's no one else on the lake. Apparently, there was like a 10-boat club championship because I had a money spot, and I knew I could catch some right off the bat on it. I had a good boat draw the first day. I caught like a 268 and a 3-pounder off of it. So tell my cameraman, hey, we're going to stop here, fish for 20 minutes. As I get closer, I'm like, is that a boat on it? And I mean, it's like dark, like I don't know. And I roll up, and there's, old timers in like a Ranger, what is it, like a 375R, like an 18.5-foot Ranger. They're both in sit-down seats, and they both have on Ranger jackets and the pointy hats with the band, the band around the hat. That's how close it was to him.
I thought you were going to say jumpsuits.
And literally out of everywhere on the entire lake, they are on where I want to be to start the final day of the Bassmaster Open. And I didn't know what to do. And I said, dude, I'm still fishing here. So I put it down, put my trolling motor down, and I try to figure out where they're going. And they went into full-on attack mode. Not verbally, but they both started slinging half-ounce chrome rattle traps at me with intent.
Perfect.
And they caught 2 or 3 there. And I'm like, really? Out of this whole thing? So then I go behind them. They swivel, chrome rattle traps. Choo, 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 choo. I mean, everywhere I went. And I just looked at my cameraman and I said, I was looking down at my forward-facing sonar and I go, well, they've pulled every single fish off of this point directly under their boat. I said, look at this. And I had it way out. I was pretty close to them.
And all the fish were behind them?
And all the fish were underneath their boat.
Oh,
because as they had been casting to me, they're
bringing it.
And they're bringing all the different schools. So I just bounced after that. I wasn't.
Did you go back later and fish it?
I did. I mean, I fished it like 2 or 3 times during it, but I was like, what are the freaking odds of that?
Well, that
out of
happens.
Every single point. But anyway, I say that to say this: a lot of your tips and tactics. When I went back to the Blueback show, which I listened to on the way down there, you were talking about key areas that would include pelagics or open water fish that were chasing bait fish when they merged with resident fish and creek mouths later in the year that live there, and that intersection are high percentage areas. And I would say out of my top 20 best spots, 15 of those were what you described to a T. I visually remember thinking, okay, there's the cane, there's the brush pile that those resident fish are living on. Now the ones that were active had bait balls that were up on top and bigger fish that were sometimes there and sometimes not. That's why you had to hit 100 places.
Right.
But they were, the bigger ones were in 2s and 3s that were up in 25 foot of water away, adjacent to, but not living on the cover that the school of the 1.5 and 2 pounders were living on the end. It was exactly with the time of the year, the migration, the bait fish, exactly the way you have described it on BTL Day 4 before. So hats off to you, Uncle Frank.
Love it. It's so good. It's so nice when it comes to fruition. We talk about a lot of stuff on the show all the time, and you know how fishing is. I mean, bass will make a liar out of you in a minute, and they can because, they just survive. But when things work out the way they're supposed to, it's really nice. It's nice to see. A lot of guys DM me with the success they had. I love hearing the success stories. Mm-hmm. It's great. You know what I'm saying? Just the whole thing. This whole format is fantastic because we cover a lot of things throughout the course of time, and some of it's funny, a lot of it's educational, and we don't take ourselves too seriously. It's a good show.
Now, really I will say sometimes you get criticized for always smashing them or catching them or obliterating them. And to that I say, that is why you have 89 episodes of BTL Day 4 with Frank Scalish and work full-time in the industry for a very prominent manufacturer designing and painting baits. Yeah, you freaking catch them when you go out most of the time, Frank. And those 3 people, get the hell over it.
Well, you know what? So, you know what? That's since you brought it up. So I'll say something. There's times when I do go out, and for a while I'm not catching anything.
Those aren't good stories. Who wants to hear those stories?
Right, but I'm trying to dial in on something, and so I'm working through some issues. Like I was on a lake a couple weeks ago that I hadn't been on in a very, very long time. And I had gone out there and got on some offshore stuff, near offshore, because it's obviously fall now, so everything's coming to the bank. Mm-hmm. Near offshore stuff, and literally started plastering them. And so I said, holy smokes. I can get a good show here. So I leave. I call my cameraman. I'm like, Joe, dude, we got to go tomorrow. It's happening. They're almost on the bank. They're like 30 yards from the bank, and I'm finding where they're staging up to start shooting in. It's going to be a good show. So he goes, I can't do it tomorrow. Next day. I said, next day we're on. Well, the next day we have 28-mile-an-hour sustained winds, sleet and rain. It's miserable. So I go to the first spot and I realize things are different because when, you know how, Matt, you have forward facing. I don't. I have to 2D it or side image it. So I go to the first place and I don't see this fish that I saw suspending on this little ridge. So I do a timeout. I'm going to change how the show's going to go. And basically what I did was, because a lot of guys only have one weekend day they can fish, or some guys fish for 4 hours after work. So I changed the premise of the show to do a quick, here's how we're going to do a quick practice to get on fish as fast as we can. Once we get on the fish, we'll figure out if there's a better way to catch big ones or not. Okay. So what happens is I go out there, the offshore stuff, I don't catch them. I throw the Carolina rig. I throw the next gen Bomber 6As and 7As, which is what I was catching them on 2 days earlier. Nothing's working. I still am seeing bait fish, but there is no bass. So the storm comes in. We start getting buckets of rain going sideways because it's 20 plus mile an hour winds. So we throw the camera gear in cover. I beach the boat underneath a big tree. We're trying to keep as much dry camera gear as we can. It slows down. I go back out, not catch them. So we do time lapse where I pick up a crankbait, throw it, pick up the Carolina rig, throw it. And it's showing that I'm like Benny Hillen, working around the structure and not catching them. So I slide into the bank. Now you got to realize this is real time. This is absolute real time. Slide up to the bank, pick up a Norman Fat Boy. First blowdown I throw on, I catch one first cast, first blowdown. Not a big one. About a 2-pounder, maybe 1.5 pounds. Not a big bass, but I turn to the camera and I go, now I got something to go on. Now I got to figure out this bank bite. How am I going to be able to upgrade, or can I even upgrade? Is it all small fish or what? So I wind up going to a different section of the lake that offered me a little more of what I was looking for. Well, before I went to the other section of the lake, I fished down the stretch where I caught the small bass, caught a couple more small bass, went around the corner. There was a bunch of lumber in the water around the corner. And I noticed off of the blowdowns, like in between blowdowns, I saw a dark object in the water, probably 5 feet off the bank. So I roll a cast out there. I hit the piece of wood with the Fat Boy, boom, catch a 4.5 pounder. Immediately say, I think I figured out how to catch bigger fish. We're going to go test this hypothesis. So I go to a different section of the lake that offered me more of what I wanted to find. And I'm catching them like I don't want to say nonstop, but very predictably, but they're all little. They're all small bass. So the storm comes back in. We got to go take cover again. So we take cover. So we're doing this on and off, and the day's running out because we're taking cover as much as I'm trying to film, and we're taking cover. And I said, we got one last ditch effort before it gets dark, but I have a place that I know where it's deeper off the bank and there's a lot of extraneous wood not leaning onto the bank. Let's run there. So I run over there. We get there. There's shad everywhere. I'm like, sweet, this is going to play. Storm comes back in. I'm like, holy smoke. So we go back, take cover, get everything. We got to wait. And it's like, you know how you can't hardly see 10 feet in front of the boat kind of stuff.
Yeah, one of those where you're like, I'd rather be anywhere but in the boat right now.
Right, exactly. So it goes. I go out there. I say, this tree's in the water, but off this tree, I can see dark spots in the water that aren't part of this tree, or they were at one time, but they're out there. Throw a cast out there, I get one over 5 on it, and close the show with the 1 over 5. So what happened through the course of the day was I could catch 50 of them just going down and just traditionally square billing. None of them would be giant fish. Probably the biggest one doing that was maybe 2 pounds. But when I keyed on the stuff that was set away from everything, I would catch a big one. And so I just showed in this very small, 3.5, 4-minute video how you can pick apart a pattern to figure out how to catch a better quality bass in it. And it was cool. It was really a cool video. And, so it's just sometimes it's not fishing. Sometimes it's not complicated. Target casting with a spinnerbait or a square bill, or, anytime you're target casting, the act of casting and catching a bass is not difficult. The part that you got to put together is how am I going to do this and actually catch a better quality bass? So by targeting this stuff off, I didn't catch as many, not even close to as many, but my limit was getting to be big. You know what I mean? Just big. And so that's how
people like watching you catch.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it goes. So yeah, I mean, yes, for the most part, I go out and I catch fish for the most part. Sometimes it's tricky and I got to try to figure it out, and it takes a little while. It's not launch your boat, make your first stop, and you're catching 100 bass. Although sometimes that happens, mostly in the summer for me, because I'm kind of dialed in the summer and in the winter.
That's what happened on Hartwell. I put it in first day of practice. It was Sunday morning. I dropped it. I literally went to the first point off an island, dropped a drop shot down, and it went thump. And I said, that's why I love this lake.
Right. I swear. And I swear to God. And you know what's crazy too is, think about this. And everybody listening, you love to fish. That's why you listen. That's why you do what you do. You love to fish, right? Every single time I catch a bass or anything I'm fishing for, whether it's a muskie, a steelhead, whatever, every time I hook one, it's as exciting to me as the first time I ever caught a fish. That's the gambling story. Addiction.
Yeah. So my first day partner, I'd known him. His name's Jonathan. Good dude. We both date barrel racers and played hockey, so we both have a little bit of a self-hate side apparently. But
I'm staying so far away from that, dude.
So I the first morning, and I've been a little run down this year. It's been no secret, right? And I was just coming off of Chesapeake Bay and the Red River, where it was a tough bite.
Right.
And I hook a 4-pounder, and I'm in the junk. It was like the only fish I caught out of a pile. So he gets stuck in the pile, 9-pound test, which was another smart move, I thought, to go to 9 instead of 7 or 8 like most guys were throwing. I sacrificed some bites, but I landed a lot more. Anyway, so I hook him in a pile. I realized this is a big fish, and now he's stuck in the pile. Heart's racing. Like second fish of the morning, day 1. And I know it's one of the big ones because it's not.
Oh, yeah.
Comes out of the pile, and those 4-pound spots, they kind of go where they want to. And I know from how this place lays out, there's deep timber that comes up, and then there's a pile, and there's cane next to the pile. It's got everything it needs. So he comes out, bounces around the pile. I said, I got him out of the pile. And he goes, zzz, boom. Now he's stuck in the cane. So I said, crap, now he's stuck in the cane. And I feel him bouncing around in the cane. And I said, holy cow, I got him out of the cane. And then he comes by the boat and goes, zzz, now he's stuck in the deep timber. So he literally pinball machines from brush pile where I hook him to cane 30 feet to the right, swims past the boat, peels drag, and is now stuck 15 foot down on the one tree that comes up on the point. And it's fantastic. Sawing. And then he comes free, and I land him. And I didn't even realize this. And I'm like, yes, blah, blah, blah. And Jonathan goes, he goes, you know how I know you'll never be able to quit tournament fishing in the near future? And he goes, you're shaking. And I said,
Oh, yeah.
I guess I am. And he goes, that adrenaline rush, he goes, that's a drug for you right now. He goes, when that stops happening, he goes, then you'll stop fishing. He goes,
No,
but
it
as long
doesn't
as that happens, he goes, well, for some guys, I think it does. I think that's when they realize they're done. They're over. It hasn't happened for us. He said, but
it isn't.
It was interesting, though. He's like, the way you're vibrating, like right now, like that energy, he goes, that is addictive to you. He goes, and you'll never, and that literally says it right after I catches it. And he goes, you'll never stop. Because like I said, I kind of knew him and I was like, man, it's been a really tough year. I haven't really enjoyed the last couple derbies. And then that happens. And I wasn't like complaining. Like I said, I knew the guy. It wasn't like I was Dr. Phil and a stranger. And he said, that's what? He said, that's why you'll always be like right now. He said, you're still in it because of that reaction.
Oh, dude, I'm amped up right now just talking about it. I really am. The funny thing is the last episode we didn't we talk about fishing for other species?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so after that episode, I'm like, you know what? I gotta go catch some muskies. I gotta go muskie fishing. So I have a friend of mine that I met because he's best friends with my sister's husband, and I know he travels all over Canada fishing for pike and everything else. So a cup right before COVID, I gave him a Powell and a Cronarch and taught him how to use a baitcaster because he didn't know how to use a baitcaster, and I told him that his fishing will improve if he can use a baitcaster because of the species of fish he's going after. He'll be more versatile having the use of a baitcaster and or spinning gear combined. So anyhow, I decided I would call him up and take him. So I said, you want to go muskie fishing? He goes, yeah. So I go, all right, let's go tomorrow. He goes, okay. So I take him out and I'm like, hey, I'm not going to mention his name. So I say, hey, just bring the rod and reel I gave you. That'll be fine. Cause I put 17-pound fluoro on it and all we're going to be doing is throwing square bills anyway. So just bring that rod will be fine. So I meet him in the morning and I'm like, dude, what do you got? And he's got this big giant box with him. And I go, dude, what do you got? He goes, oh, there's plates in there. There's, utensils, condiments, all kinds of lunch meats and everything else. And I'm like, man, I don't have room for this in the boat. You know what I mean? It's like this big giant deli box. So anyway, the long and short of it is, so I go through the box, I pull out, just a couple packs of lunch meat. Anyway, we go and I say, look, I got a spinning rod. I can put 20-pound braid on it in 2 seconds. I got a spool. It'll be easier for you because you haven't cast this thing since I gave it to you 2 years ago. Oh no. He goes, I'll know how. I'm like, okay. So I had to give him mine because he didn't bring his rod and reel. So I gave him one of my Powell 725s and I start twitching when other people are using my stuff. So I'm like, here, just use it, abuse it, do what you got to do. So right off the rip, he makes a cast and it goes and it's a good cast. But I noticed he never used his thumb. Mm-hmm. And I watched at the end of his cast, the reel just go, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, oh, here we go. I go, and I can't say his name. So I go, dude, give me that. And so I peel everything out. I rewind it up for him. I go, remember the thumb, remember the thumb. So long and short of the day is he would not put the baitcaster down, would not let me get the spinning rod out for him. So I admired his fortitude, but this was what I saw the whole day when I was fishing with him. Ready? This is what I saw.
Yeah.
I saw the back of him like this.
With his head down, pulling out backlash.
Pulling out line. The whole day, that's what I saw.
Give him an A for an effort.
Right, so 100%. So finally I had to re-spool the reel because the loops in his line all broke. So I looked at the reel and I see all these little tag lines sticking out. And I'm like, if you hook a muskie, dude,
done.
You're done.
Oh, so he's breaking it deep in the reel and just still rolling with it.
Right. So I pull all the stuff out. I re-spool it. This time I go, I got my electrical tape out. I made a cast. I put the electrical tape, wrapped it all the way around the spool, and then reeled in so he could just throw it to the electrical tape. You know what I mean? And not backlash. Yep. So the long and short of it is I'm like noticing a bass pattern happening. Okay. And I'm like, oh my God, if we were bass fishing, we would catch 100 of them today. It's going to be it would be so easy. And I said, but we're muskie fishing, so I'm not going to pull any more tackle. We're just going to have the one rod apiece out. So I cast out, I get a bass. I'm like, man, I reel it in. I go, oh, it's a bass. I let it go, cast it, boom, I get another bass. Not giant bass, little dudes, pound and a halfers. Boom, I get another one. I'm like, man, bass, bass, bass. And I go, God. I said, if we could put buzz baits on and frogs and fish, because the lake's on drawdown, and fish all these flat points with grass on them, we will murder the bass. Going to stay with the muskies. I make a cast. I got one. I go like that, and I get, I go, oh, man, that's a good bass. I tell him, that's a good bass. All of a sudden, dude, it was like someone took a switch and went, bink. That thing goes, I go, I got a good muskie. And so I'm thumbing him. I use my thumb as a drag, and I'm thumbing him, and he's going, and he comes out of all the debris, and he goes out into the open, and I'm like, I got him now, man. And I start putting some of the brakes on. This muskie comes flying out of the water, dude. I was like, oh, crap, that's a good one. So I finally land the thing. It's about a 25, 26 pounder. I finally land a thing. That muskie was so wide. I should have tipped him sideways.
That's it, isn't it? That's
the
muskie right there?
I should have tipped him sideways so you could see the girth, the width of this thing. So you see the scar on his mouth over there?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got him in the net. I got the crankbait out of his mouth, okay? And he's funky. He's like rolling. He's rolling funky, and I can't grab him. I want to grab him by the jaw, underneath the jaw and the tail, so I can get a picture of him. So he's funky. So I take my hand and I grab him on the side of the head where there's no scales, teeth, or anything sharp. And I'm just rolling him over so I can take this hand and get him underneath the jaw. Okay. Something lights me up. I don't know what it is. It goes right in my thumb. I noticed then that somebody had broke him off. Probably a bass guy had broke him off because there's a giant gaff of a hook sticking out where that scar is on his jaw. Goes right in my thumb. Well, as it goes in my thumb, I pull a little because it hurt. I pulled a little. The fish goes ape crap.
Is it past the barb?
Oh, it's in me, dude.
Oh,
it's in me and out the other side.
You've got an old hook stuck in your thumb attached to a muskie?
Dude, the muskie starts going crazy in the net and literally tears the hook out of my thumb. Okay?
Oh,
literally
Uncle
tears
Frank.
the hook out of my thumb. So I'm like, whoa, that hurt. I don't know what got me. You know what I mean? I don't know what got me.
You just got stung by a bee as far as you're concerned.
As far as I'm concerned. So I finally grabbed the fish. I got him. I tell the guy, take some pictures, and I'm holding the fish up. And I look down on my deck of my boat, and it looks like I just filleted a walleye on the deck of my boat.
Blue walleye.
Yeah, blue pike. And so I'm like, there's no way this fish is bleeding this bad because my crankbait was literally right in the snoot of his mouth. And there's no blood from it's me. Okay. It's me. So I take a couple pictures. I let the fish go. I cut a towel. in a strip, wrap it around my thumb, tape it on my thumb. And my buddy's like, dude, do you want to go home? I go, no. I said, we're just starting to catch them now. so about 16 or 17 bass later and another muskie later, I just looked at him and he was just he had such a tough day. I wish he would have just taken the spinning reel because he would have probably caught some. He had two muskies follow him in, and he got really.
That's a good day. That's what muskie anglers call a banner day.
Right. So he had two follow, and I said, now you got to pay attention when the fish follows you in, because you have to figure eight in front of them, and you got to pull that crankbait around like a madman. You have to make them want to eat it. Well, the first one that he had come in on him was a pretty good one. And he stopped. He stopped reeling completely. And the square bill's floating up, and the muskie goes and takes up, peels away. And I'm like, oh, dude, you were 1 second from locking up with that fish, But it was, for me, it was a good day. I was catching fish like crazy. It was a good day. But I will admire his fortitude. That dude wanted to learn how to cast that rod, and he would not put it down.
I tried to learn on a Browning Vectra in the mid to late 1990s.
Wow.
Let me tell you what, if you can cast a Browning Vectra from 1997 without backlashing it, you will never have an issue with the bait caster again in your life.
Dude, right? That's like the old Ambassador 4500. It's like a saltwater reel.
I remember I would go down to Rock Springs Pond, and I would have to call my dad to come pick me up because I couldn't fish anymore. I'd have that thing so freaking knotted up.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I do have an update on the blue walleye subspecies, the blue pike. I did find an article. It's pretty interesting. And it's partially true, yes, overfishing and things like that, but it said it was only found in Lake Erie. But they were able to maintain isolation from the yellow walleye, which is a standard walleye, because they typically spawn in different areas and live deeper and were very school-oriented with each other. So they were able to kind of maintain that subspecies. They share fish and subspecies, they share the same basin, will always come in contact with each other. The blue walleye tended to school together. For spawning, they headed to the western basin, just as many central basin dwelling yellow walleyes and whitefish. As the blue walleyes diminished in number from over-harvesting and poor water quality, it became more difficult to find mates of the same species, so they began hybridizing with the yellow walleyes, producing a color phase known as the gray pike or mules. Wow. And then for the short time, it said gray pike outnumbered blue pike in commercial catches. Then the grays disappeared because of further crossbreeding, and the remaining blue pike traits were absorbed by the now dominant yellow walleye population. So it says the blue pike weren't necessarily wiped out, but their numbers were sufficiently depressed and then soaked up by the yellow walleyes.
Cool. Makes sense. Good get on the article.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So yeah,
let's get into the paint shop. There's some stuff that's going on the paint shop now. Some cool colors, some new stuff that's out there. Like I said, a kind of a hodgepodge of a show today, but we're getting back in the swing of things as we approach show 100 in just 10 short weeks.
Yeah, so there's a color on the paint shop, the deep little N in olive blue. That was a color I painted a while ago. It's a really good. Actually, I love that color, especially for early season smallmouth. They just have an affinity towards that color. I've caught a lot of good smallies on it. It's a good largemouth color. When you're not fishing for smallmouth, obviously you'll catch largemouth on it too. But it's olive blue. It's got like a olive back, pearly olive shoulders, blue pearl sides, and of course it's got the quintessential gut bag that I like to paint on them. Fantastic bait. They got a new release out called the Bluegill Bandit, which actually is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool color. Check that out. And then on the Super Spook, I know a lot of guys below the Mason-Dixon line. That's the Bluegill Bandit. That's actually a pretty slick color right there.
That is kind of pretty.
Yeah, it is. It's a pretty cool color. So check that one out. Go to, you know what? Go to the Super Spook in Superman. That I didn't even see that bait until the other day. Now a lot of guys below the Mason Dixon line will throw the big 3-hook Super Spook. Up north, I throw that Super Spook, but a lot of guys will go to the regular Zara Spook up here. But that is a really sweet color. That color right there is really cool.
It kind of has like a 1980s club vibe to it. I don't know why. Just with like do you know what I mean though? With like kind of the pink and then the splatter back and the clear,
the disco.
Yeah, like just passage. Kind of like then.
But yeah, I mean that's a really slick color. So keep looking at the paint shop because I've got a lot of colors coming up. I don't have the exact dates of the releases, so keep looking because I painted a lot of stuff for them.
What's your favorite color that you've ever done for the paint shop?
Wow, that's hard to say because
did you do dirty PB&J?
I did not do dirty PB&J, but I
liked that one a lot.
I did all the Norman colors, and I like them all. Actually, I catch fish on all of them. And I have new Norman colors coming out and some new crawdad patterns coming out, which
so stay tuned for that.
My favorite, yeah. So keep an eye on the paint shop. Don't forget the DIY section. Winter's coming up. You guys are going to be holed up, especially up north. You're going to get holed up once the ice comes, and you need something to do. You can paint. Painting lures is a lot of fun.
Still have the Canary is still out. The only one that is not sold out in the Canary color
is the Fat NXS. Boy,
yes, the NXS is not sold out, but as far as the rest of them, the Canary color is sold out on all of them.
Yeah, that Canary color is very special, guys. That is one smoking color. We literally that color sold out within 2 weeks. Out of everything but the NXS, and probably because a lot of people didn't understand the value of that hard diving NXS. It's the only lure that Norman offers that's a true hard, fast diving crankbait. It gets right down to the business, and there's a time and a place for a fast diving crankbait. So check it out. It's worth it. It's really worth it.
Good stuff. What else you got, Frank? Oh, I did mention on that. You did mention that before, but I didn't wanted you to re-mention then that muskie that you caught on the rod. Your deal there had the code if you want to check out.
Yeah. So when I muskie,
side note.
Yeah, sorry about that. So when I muskie fish, I don't own muskie lures. I don't
bass fish in key
areas. I just throw my bass tackle on them in key locations. Believe it or not, I'm landing all these muskies on a Powell 725 crankbait rod. It's what I throw my square bills on for target casting, short range. It's got good backbone, soft tip. It's graphite. It's a graphite crankbait rod. All of mine are really, and I love it. So when I talked to Powell, they gave me a code, and here's what it is. It's 20% off anything on their website, and the code is Uncle Frank, all capital letters, one word.
There you go.
Uncle Frank, all capital letters, one word, 20% off anything on their website, clothes, hats, rods, whatever they have on the website. And I know for a fact that they just got a couple shipments in, so they're plush with rods right now. I think they're only missing a couple of actions and a couple of powers, but for the most part, they're plush.
That's good stuff. If you want to keep up with Frankie Jr.'s adventures and see how he does today, you can go to the MLF website. Then under the leagues, you just click on the BFL, and then on the right-hand side, it'll say Bass Fishing League. On the right-hand side, it says In Progress. And then you can click on it and see what the standings are. I always like following tournaments where people, you kind of know what they're doing, you know how important it is to them, you know how much work they've put into it, and then seeing the results of that. So I will definitely be checking later today to see how Frankie Jr. does.
Right, because you feel like you got some skin in the game.
Yeah. What does he have to do to make tomorrow?
17 pounds for sure.
No, what at the top? What make tomorrow?
12.
Top 12. Okay.
12.
Yeah, Cade Laufenberger there. He's pretty strong on that pool.
Yeah, Frankie needs I'm going to guess based on 12th place, I'm going to guess he's going to need 17. It'll probably drop a couple pounds, so he might be able to get away with 15 or 16 and make it. So we'll see. And don't forget, too, 20% off bundles on
Lurenet.com.
The bundles it's a money buy, guys.
Good stuff today, Uncle Frank. Thank you for taking time out of. Yeah, I mean, I know how you like to start your weekend early sometimes.
Allegedly, that's how rumors start.
All right, we stay tuned to the website. We'll figure out what's going on next week. I'll actually be at Rayburn next week for the Bassmaster Open. But as we approach show 100, thank you. Good group of people who came online.
I got to say one thing. Go Cleveland Guardians, which used to be the Cleveland Indians, which I wish they still were, but go Guardians.
Playoffs.
Yes. They got a little bit to overcome with the Yankees.
They can do it. The Yankees don't have anyone who hits homers.
Please, that's their only claim to fame, man. If they're not hitting home runs, they're not scoring. Where at least with the Guardians, they get guys on base. They play baseball the way baseball is supposed to be played. You keep putting guys on base.
Side shot at the Yankees there. All right, this has been day 4, number 89, with the man Frank SCALISH. We'll see you guys next week.
Adios.